Nicole Papiano from Your Instructional Designer, and I'm here today with the amazing Christopher Lind. Christopher, can you tell us all a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I do a lot of different things. One thing I do, I head up digital learning for GE Healthcare, so run all of kind of our learning technology and innovation here. I do a weekly live stream on learning technology and what's going on in the industry. And then I spend a lot of time just connecting with people and helping them kind of figure out how to make their way in learning and development in this new world.
And it really is a new world.
It is.
Um, I mean, personally, I've seen you all over LinkedIn and you put out some great content for people who are in the learning and development field. So how did you get into sort of this leadership spot in the L&D field?
Oh, it's been a journey to say the least. So I going way back, and I won't do the whole story, but I originally was going to be a software engineer because I loved computers, and then I realized I hated coding. But I was really good at one kind of understanding how technology was changing people, and I was really good at helping other people understand technology. And so people said you should teach, which I did. I was a teacher for a bit. But then I had really kind of an eclectic journey. I bounced around to a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, and I actually got a really, really, really diverse experience set in learning and development. And I think that was kind of fundamental to me moving into a leadership role. Was as I moved into a leadership role, I kind of understood the whole supply chain of what we did. And then really what I discovered was I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, when I started leading other people, because I actually loved helping other people understand learning and figure out what their journey was in learning and how they could grow in learning and development. And then it just kind of, companies kept asking me to take on bigger and more responsibility. And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good.
Well, you're obviously really good at what you do, so it's pretty cool that you can align like what you're passionate about with what you want to be doing for a career.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I think I finally figured it out. We'll see.
um, and then, so now you're in GE Healthcare. Do you see any big differences maybe from, I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of people are starting from kind of the teaching
Yes.
world and moving into L&D, but what are like the big differences that you recognize now, along your journey that you've come to see?
It's interesting. There's probably more similarities than differences, which is one of the things that, when I stay connected with a lot of my kind of K-20 friends and things like that. And I mean, you're dealing with the same challenges, you're dealing with the same politics, you're dealing with the same obnoxious students, right? I mean, I think the big differences is maybe some of the complexity behind it, right? When you start dealing with things, especially in large organizations on a global scale, and you're dealing with, countries around the world, and you're dealing with learners in all different sorts of areas with different connections and, job responsibilities and things like that. I think as you're transitioning from K-12 or wherever, just teaching in general, you're focused on a specific audience doing a specific thing. And as you go into the corporate world, suddenly, the canvas is blank and there's a lot that you have to think about.
That's such a great point. I don't think I really thought about that before, but it's so true, especially if you're, um, more of an agency role, even then you've got it times 12.
Right.
So whatever field
Yeah.
comes your way, you have to work with.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So all those projects and all those jobs, is there something that you've just been like, this is my favorite thing I ever worked on. This is the project I'm proudest of or had the most fun doing?
Wow. Favorite project. Honestly, I don't know. I'm actually really bad at favorites in general. So you could ask me like, what's your favorite food or band? And I'd be like, I honestly have no idea. Because I actually love and embrace new experiences all the time. So like for me, everything's a new challenge, everything's a new way of approaching things. So I mean, there's tons of things that I look back on that I go, wow, that was like so cool, things like that. But I mean, honestly, some of the biggest ones that I most excited about aren't even necessarily innovations in learning or things like that. It was like working with my teams or helping my teams kind of unlock their potential and figure out like they had a really cool idea and I was able to help them bring it to life. Like, to me, that was far more cool than anything I came up with where I was like, I have a neat idea. I want to see this through.
Oh, you're definitely the helper. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's awesome, like I said. And I'm really wondering, since you're the helper and kind of gone through all these roles now, how could people help you? Like, what would be the next thing you would love to hear about or think about or learn about? Is there anything on your horizon?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I mean, in terms of my horizon, I, I don't know. I think, where things are going just from the landscape of technology continues to kind of challenge me. And I think from a pragmatic sense, so I'm always looking for ways to uncover, as I balance this moving up in leadership, I love staying grounded with like what's actually happening. Because it's one thing to make a decision at this enterprise global level and not fully understand the implications going all the way down. And while I grew up in it and I try and relate to it, I'm always curious to hear from people like, what's actually working? What are you doing? Like, what things aren't happening? Because that actually, to me, keeps me on my toes too, because it's easy to get too comfortable and I don't like getting comfortable.
Yeah, they say right when you're uncomfortable is when you're growing.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Which isn't always fun. I will say
No.
it's not always fun, but when you actually see the fruits of it, you're like, all right, it's worth it.
So maybe that'll take us to my big
The big
hard
one.
question. Yeah, but honestly, I feel like I asked you two pretty big ones, and you've been a good sport. But if you did have one piece of advice you could give to people who were new to the industry,
Yeah.
what would that be?
So it's kind of a double-barreled answer because I don't know. Again, see, I'm really bad at picking favorites. So there's not like, oh, here's this one golden nugget, I guess. But there's kind of two things with it, right? And one is figure out, right? Learning and development is huge. To me, it's probably one of the most diverse industries that you can be in. And I think that's probably one thing a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, this is what learning and development is. No, actually not at all. You could be a data scientist and be in learning. You could be a you can be whatever you want in learning and development, which is good, but it's also can feel a little overwhelming because you can feel like you get lost. And I think that's where figuring out what makes you tick, right? Like, what are the things you really love doing? If you figure that out, you can find that in learning and development. Now, to me, the way you get there though, and it's why I'm so grateful for the background I had, I was in probably every role that existed in learning and development. And some of them I really hated. I'm like, this is not for me. But I'm glad I did it because now I understand what it was. I now understand when I make decisions, the implication those decisions have on the people that are doing that job, things like that. So I think the diversity of experience and then using that to actually figure out what part of learning do you really love and then just go for it. Cause I mean, you can do it. That to me is the beauty of it.
So try it all. Just do it
Try it
all.
all. Right. And it's, I think one thing though, sometimes people are like, does that mean I have to go get a job in everything? Well, no, not necessarily. You don't have to do every job to realize you don't like it or not like. I mean, you can just find ways to kind of get involved in it and figure out, hey, maybe this is what I do. But don't limit yourself to learning and development means I have to make e-learning or facilitate a class. Maybe, but maybe not.
I think just listen to Learning Shark and figure it out.
Well, yeah, maybe that can be of help. I don't know.
So is there anything else that you would want to tell the folks who are watching this before I let you go?
I guess the last thing too would just be like, there's the one thing I love so much about the learning industry is like, it is such a community of people who love to connect and collaborate. Like, honestly, in a way I've never seen. And so I would just encourage people, like, reach out to people, talk to people, get to know people, because there is a ton of people out there who love to help, love to give their feedback, love to give advice. I mean, there's no shortage of resources. But you have to take it, right? You have to be willing to kind of take the first step. And I think anybody who does won't regret it.
We do have the best industry. I don't think you could do these kinds of things and I'm not gonna like name any, but there are definitely industries where I think this would be frowned upon or you have a little bit more of an authoritative like you need to get access
Yeah,
to me. But people are pretty friendly in this industry. It's pretty cool.
people
I mean,
are.
we just met.
Right. Like what, 10 minutes ago?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
It's good. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for joining me today. I have really enjoyed having this conversation with you and learning a little bit more about you and what you do. I'm sure the folks at home have as well. And for those of you who are watching, there's more information about Christopher, so you can go track down his awesome podcast and some of the other cool things he's doing and learn a little bit more from him as time goes on. So thank you again for being part of Learning Pro Intros.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you asking me to be on here.
Of course. All right, well, till next time. Bye-bye.